A very good morning to each one of you. Welcome you all to the inaugural of the Media and Entertainment Fortnight at the India Pavilion, Expo 2020, Dubai. I'd like to request all the dignitaries to come on the dais, please. Ms. Jyoti Deshpande, Shri Apurva Chandra, His Excellency the Ambassador, Madhavan, Mr. Vikram Sahai, Mr. Bobby Bedi, and Mr. Vikram Chandra. Please have a seat. We inaugurated the sector floor on the 18th of March, showcasing the journey and vibrant colors of media and entertainment sector floor at the beautiful Dubai Expo. Now we're going to have a short audiovisual on the media and entertainment industry of India. The AV, please.
The Indian media and entertainment industry is estimated to reach $31 billion by 2024, growing at 13% CAGR. The sector has enormous room for growth in all formats of television, films and digital entertainment. India is an interesting market for global players seeking to monetize content. Pay TV penetration in India has more than doubled from 32% in 2001 to 66% in 2018, making India the second largest pay TV market in the world, with a presence in 197 million households. Regional pay TV markets outpace the national market in terms of advertising, giving global broadcasters acquisition and partnership opportunities to expand their presence in these markets. The Indian film industry is the biggest in the world in terms of number of releases every year. Foreign films are also seeing strong growth at the Indian box office. Major international film studios have already established their Indian divisions or are collaborating with local studios to harness the growth potential offered by Indian audiences. Indian filmmakers are also making movies for exclusive digital release. India has over 800 million internet subscribers, second highest in the world, growing annually at a rate of 13%. The scale of Indian market and the government's nod to 100% FDI has attracted global streaming platforms to capitalize on the country's fast-growing digital consumption. These platforms have shown a strong focus on investing in local content and originals to scale up numbers. The increased availability of competitively priced 4G services has enabled companies to reach diverse regional markets and smaller towns. This has catapulted the growth of local content creators who are seeing streaming service providers invest in greater volumes of content with better budget offerings. Under the visionary leadership of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, the Indian media and entertainment industry is growing by leaps and bounds on its way to become the global hotspot of entertainment media.
Now I'd like to invite Ms. Jyoti Deshpande, the co-chair of FICCI Media and Entertainment Committee and CEO of Viacom, for her welcome address.
I have some notes, but I'll try and not use it. Can you hear me? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all my friends on the dais, as well as all my friends in the audience. Wish you a very warm welcome to the first India Pavilion inaugural meeting at the Dubai Expo. It's my absolute privilege to welcome you all to this. I hear the day is going to be full of insightful talks, thought-provoking panel discussions. I also hear that it's the day where the FICCI-EY report much awaited report on the media and entertainment sector is about to be launched. So I'm not going to steal anyone's thunder. I'll try and keep it short. It has been a resounding year for the sector, and we've grown 16% to rupees $1.6 trillion, not dollars, rupees 1.6 trillion. And we're almost back to pre-pandemic levels. And by the end of this year, we would have gone back to pre-pandemic levels. By 2024, we should cross 2.3 trillion rupees. So that augurs very, very well for all the moving parts in our very exciting media and entertainment sector. Now, the elephant in the room, which was the pandemic. The pandemic changed many, many things permanently in our lives. TVs became connected and we began to interact. Movies began to premiere on digital OTT platforms. News went hyper-local. About 390 million Indians played online games. About 150 billion songs were streamed. About 40 million subscribers chose some OTT service or the other. So the digital segment cemented its place as the second largest within the media and entertainment sector. Now, we can't talk about growing platforms and soaring platforms without talking about content and storytellers. The creator economy in India, and when we think of content and storytellers, we think of, Hrithik Roshan or some very popular maker. But the creator economy definition itself changed to include bloggers and vloggers and influencers and creators from micro to nano creators who used social media platforms to engage with fandom and create audiences of their own. Now the monetization of social commerce, etc., which has just begun, remains to be seen in the next few years and will unfold. But this is something that's very exciting about India. Now, it also goes without saying that there are still 300 million people who are internet dark, and we're trying to bring them back. The AV told us about how we are one of the largest, second largest country in terms of internet connections, but there's still 300 million who are not connected to the internet, and we need to bring them, into light. At least 30% of the households of India still do not have television. So this is the part that makes India unique, because we have a lot of headroom to grow still. In developed countries, we see that when there's a digital revolution, it's at the cost of traditional media. But I'm a firm believer that in India, because it's so unique and it's a country, it's many countries within a country, we still have room for all of the moving parts to grow, and that's what we will see unfolding over the next several years. When we look at the industry and we look at what's going on, there's hyper digital growth and explosion in consumption. There's best in class creative and tech expertise that we have in our fold. Our government, as we saw, is trying to have very open policies so that India is attractive for business. There's strong winds of consolidation. And given all these momentum and all these tailwinds, I'm sure that the dream that we've been having to make the Indian media and entertainment sector a $100 billion industry is not just a pipe dream, and it's very, very much possible. The latest buzzword in our circles is currently metaverse. If I say I understand something about it, I would be lying. It's built on the three pillars of artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and blockchain. And they say it's going to be an intersection of our digital and physical lives, with infinite creativity limited only by our imagination. As we debate regulation, measurement, ethics, and sustainability, and some such important topics which we must consider as we grow, one thing is for sure, that it's India's time under the sun, and Indians and Indian storytellers will shine in this future with Make in India and Show the World kind of a mantra. I'm confident of it. It's my privilege to be part of this glorious industry for the last 3 decades. And like this city of Dubai, I would like to imagine that this is a great example of transformation through imagination. The rest I leave to your imagination. Once again, thank you on behalf of FICCI for joining us here today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Deshpande. I'd like to invite the celebrated and acclaimed actor, Mr. Madhavan, to come and speak a few words.
Thank you so much. To the dignitaries on the dais and my friends, thank you very much for having me here. It's an honor. And I'd like to say that it's a fantastic opportunity created by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry, FICCI, as well as the Dubai Expo, for a platform where we absolutely desperately need to interact today. And like Jyoti said, prepare for the kind of content that needs to be consumed, not in the near future, but now. I am going to speak more about the microcosm that I am from, which is the ability to create content. And I can tell you today that I'm extremely desperate. I'm desperate because, like Jyoti said, the pandemic has changed a lot. It has not just changed the consumption pattern and the volume, but in the era of viral and vanish, it's becoming more and more difficult for people who've been living around for a while to become relevant to the people who are actually consuming content. And by that I mean become aspirational. Most of the creators, for instance, are still, like she said, we are trying to understand what the metaverse and Web 3.0 is going to be. And most of our kids are already interacting with that world. And I want to give you an example of what my son and his friends are doing on a daily basis. Teenagers, and I barely get to hear their voice throughout the week because they have assumed already that we're not intelligent enough for them. And I'm sure a lot of you relate to what I'm saying in terms of technology, in terms of the kind of video games they play. I think in their mind, they just tolerate our stupidity. And so I have a barter with my son. I'm like, when we're in public, can you just give me the liberty of being as intelligent as you, if not, slightly more, because of my experience, I can handle it. But, I know that they look at us with colored vision. The only time I hear his voice, of course, is on Sunday afternoons when he's got his earphones on and he's playing video games with people around the world. They're playing Fortnight, for instance, and he's yelling and screaming, and I'm hearing words that I never hear from a teenager at that point of time. And I realized that actually playing with people around the world at the same time, simultaneously wearing earphones, and they're playing a war game, and they're attacking each other. And when he says, flank me from the left, the 8 people in his team, the one guy knows who he's being instructed to. So the guy who's supposed to flank him from the left, he knows that he's being talked to. Or when he says, "Are yaar," so the guy knows who's messed up, ki kisko "Are yaar" bola ja raha hai. Which means that they have in the audio, in just the audio sense, just with the earphones, they have created imaginations and expressions for people who are playing, and they're able to communicate with each other almost with silences, without even looking, and creating a world that we have absolutely no understanding about. And as creators, imagine trying to find something that's going to interest them when they're actually playing live with people, when they're actually shooting somebody and, eliminating them. They're eliminating another player from another part of the world. So it's like literally going onto a battlefield and feeling their excitement. So I'm paranoid. I just don't know what research I need to do to make myself relevant to this younger generation. And I need help on that front. Because every script that I read today, every notion that is coming to me is pre-pandemic. And I can't tell you in 2 years how outdated it is sounding. To a world of, so vastly changing, we have to be really careful who is helping us and whose help we take. And, I'm gonna, apart from that desperation of trying to say that I'm still looking for extraordinary content that makes sense in the world we are in today. The 2 points that I've able to figure out in the last couple of years is, one, India has the ability to create world content simply because of the kind of mythology and the age of our civilization is such that we'll find relevance in the spiritual world, in the philosophical world, any given point of time. We have enough and more stories to tell. We just have to have the freedom, the liberty, and the intelligence to tell it properly to a completely new generation of people. The other is my request to the government, of course, and see how we can handle it. The vast and huge difference between creators in the West, in Hollywood and India, is that, if I put it as bluntly as I can, once they have a couple of successes, once an actor over there has one series that becomes a success, his ability to sustain himself and live a happily ever after with the money he's making is guaranteed. The residuals make sure that he doesn't have to worry about earning money again or whether his family will come to the road. An actor in Hollywood can have 3 hits and not worry about 7 generations of his life being taken care of simply because of the virtue of those 3 hits. And so when you sit in an armchair where you're not worried about your income or your money or your financials and then think of content to be made, you have a liberty to indulge and your appetite to take risk becomes enormous. With most of the content creators and producers who are actually a flash in the pan in the country today, if you look at the producers that are there in India today, very few of them can have the uniqueness of saying we've been around for a couple of decades. They just come and they leave, and they barely before they understand the business. I think if there's an accountability to the kind of work that is, the kind of money that a project makes, then the creators will have the freedom to think with the same amount of comfort as most people do in Hollywood. And having said that, and I'd like I was saying, it's important who we take help from. I would like to leave you all with a little bit of an anecdote that I, at the risk of repeating myself, love to say in a place like this. I am from Bombay, and I have moved there, and anybody who's lived in Bombay will quite understand and relate to how taking a local train is in Mumbai, especially when it's completely compact and completely packed during the important times. My friend was coming in from Chennai, and he was paranoid because, Bombay is a frightening city. And he said, I'm coming in at evening 5 o'clock, tell me what to do. And I was new to Bombay at that point in time. I said, you're going to get off at the Victoria terminus, come to the local train area, get onto a train. Remember to take a slow train to Goregaon, because there are 2 trains. One is the fast and the other one is slow. The slow one will stop in all stations. The fast one will not stop. And if you miss the station, then you will go almost 80 kilometers before you hit Borivali, and then you'll have to come back. And my friend, who was completely nervous, said, yeah, fine, no problem, I'll do that. And as expected, he got onto the fast train. And now the train has traveled, and he's like, yaar, I think main na galat train pe chad gaya, ye fast hai. And I go, yaar, ask the people over there what to do. So this friend of mine, carrying his bag from Chennai, looked around and asking for people to help. Now you have to imagine that this is the peak time and everybody are packed like sardines and they're literally so close. And anybody who's been through that will know that at that point of time, people are so close to you, I think they can probably hear you think. In fact, if you have to put your hand down in your pocket, take out a kerchief, you have to take permission of the guy in front of you. Least they think that you're taking advantage of the situation. So you really have to go, and then they have to say, bhai, nikala hu kerchief, put it back. I can take permission to put it back in your pocket. That's how tight it is. And God forbid you do not know the rules of traveling by this fast train and you're on the opposite side of the door as opposed to the one in which the platform is going to come. Then even God can't bring you to this side. It's impossible. You'll just scream and rant and yell, but you will be there because you made the cardinal mistake of being on the wrong side. Now my friend, not knowing all these rules, suddenly realized he has to get off in Andheri and take a look. And they've been, like I said, you have to be very important, very, very careful who you take help from. And everybody in the compartment is telling him, Andheri station mein utar nahi paaye tu because you're on the wrong side of the thing. So the next thing is Borivali, which is very far off. But there is a window of opportunity. So he said, what? And he's already sweating, he's nervous, he's got his bag. And he says, because there is some construction work going on, in Velepali, the train is going to go slow by the platform. This is going to go on the third platform, but it'll go really slow. It's been, the practice for the past 3 weeks. So when it is really slow, jump off the train. Now this guy is, as it is, he's nervous, but he says, if I don't jump off, it's going to take me a long time to get back. So he's now literally ready. He's moved to the right side of the exit. He's holding on to the bags and he's praying. And then the train comes, and sure enough, the train is slowing down. And everybody like, "Tu ready hai?" Haan. And then just before he's about to jump, he says, "Arey yaar, aise seedha mat kudna, pagal hai kya? Tu gir jayega, you'll fall and break your nose." So he said, "Now what?" He says, "As soon as the train slows down, get off and start running in the direction of the train. Then you will not fall. It's basic physics." And he said, yeah, okay. Now he's really worried. And sure enough, the train stopped, slowed down at the platform. This guy jumped off the train and started running for all his life. And he ran so fast that he ran slightly faster than the train because he was so nervous. And he started running. He started, overtaking the train. The guys on the next door said, "Aja, aja, aja, aja," and caught him and pulled him inside the train. And they're high-fiving each other because they made somebody come onto the train. So he ended up coming the next morning to my house. So I have to be very, very, it's a very friendly place. You have to be careful how much help and who you take help from, despite the intent. Having said that, that has got no connection to the kind of help I'm expecting from the people over here. But I would like to say thank you very much for this opportunity, and I'm glad I could put my thoughts across to you all. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madhavan. We'd now like to invite His Excellency Mr. Sanjay Sudhir, our ambassador, to say a few words.
Mr. Apurva Chandra, Secretary INB, dignitaries on the dais, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. There's no doubt that the times we are going through are not very normal, but at the same time, it's so heartening to hear from Ms. Jyoti Deshpande about the good which COVID has done, at least to the world of media and entertainment. But nevertheless, things have been really difficult in most walks of life. And in that situation, for the UAE government to host Dubai Expo, I think is indeed very, very creditable. It gives such a different message to the world, a message that, in times of adversity also, if the courageous can actually do it. And for us, as India, it has given us again another wonderful opportunity to have the India Pavilion. And as many of you might know, this is among the 4 pavilions which are permanent structures. So even after Dubai Expo is over, we'll still have this pavilion and put it to a different use. As of just 2 days back, we heard that the footfall at Dubai Expo has already crossed the 20 million mark. And at India Pavilion, the 1.5 million mark. So I think in that context, to have the Media Entertainment Week here, I think this is the most apt place for that. As you all know, expos world over are not really the places just for trade. They are places for ideas, where countries participate, and here about 200 countries are participating. They participate with their ideas about what they are, how they see the world, and how they wish the world to see them. And I think in that context, again, the outreach which this fortnight is going to provide to India is going to be really, really important. I mentioned how special Expo is for us. Another very concrete example is that I was talking to Reem Hashmi. She is Minister of State for International Affairs and one of the key persons here at the Expo. And she mentioned that, how, considering everything, the only 2 cultural personalities they invited here were Mr. Shekhar Kapoor and Mr. A.R. Rahman. and to give them another very permanent structure, the Firdaus Studio. I mean, this is not only a matter of honor for us, but it's a matter of national pride, I think. And to see the musical Y was a different experience altogether. For us, as in India, we have tried to make the most of our presence here. And if you see the theme under which this pavilion is working, openness, opportunity, and growth, we are trying our best to project our soft power, and I think there's an enormous soft power India has. We have been using this pavilion to showcase different walks of life, education, industry, water, media, entertainment. Different states have also participated here. In January, Omicron rewrote a lot of things. Our Prime Minister was expected to visit here on the 6th of January. That never happened. Actually, this week or Fortnight was also expected to happen during an earlier time. And I'm so grateful to Mr. Apurva Chandra, Secretary INB, that he rescheduled, but he was very committed that this fortnight has to happen. And I think this fortnight, as it comes as a culmination of this 6-month period, is programming-wise, I think the most intense. So congratulations to INB Ministry, congratulations to all of you that you are having the event here. And the impact of this event, I think, is going to be something very permanent. And we are here, as the embassy in Abu Dhabi and as our consulate here to follow up on whatever you decide here, because over a period of time, Dubai in particular and UAE in general has also established itself to be a very active and lively hub for a lot of things, including, of course, media and entertainment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'd now like to invite virtually our dynamic Tourism Secretary, Mr. Arvind Singh, who is joining us.
Thank you. Am I audible? My colleague, Secretary Apurva Chandra, Ambassador Sudhir, dignitaries on the dais, my previous speakers, Madhavan and Ms. Deshpande, and all colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this event where the fortnight of the Ministry of Information and Broadcast is being launched. And as Ambassador Sudhir mentioned, the Tourism Week was supposed to be in January, but Omicron rewrote a lot of things and we had to reschedule. But I'm very happy that I'm being able to share my thoughts with all of you today. The strengths of our country, I did not elaborate or talk about it from the tourism perspective. We have centuries-old heritage and culture. India is home to more than 40, it is home to 40 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The size of the country makes it diverse in the sense that you can experience deserts, you can see snow-clad mountains, you can go for trekking, you can go to the beautiful beaches. Some of them are now blue flag beaches in the country. You can go and see exotic locales all over the place. So the strengths and the variety that India offers is unique, that you will not find this kind of variety of tourism experiences anywhere in the world in any country. Also, as speakers before have said, we have a strong film industry. It's not only related or restricted to Bollywood, which is located in Mumbai, but we also have a very strong regional film industry, which has centers in places like Chennai, Hyderabad, Kolkata, among other places. And we have also other regional locations coming up where film shooting is happening. So it's a very, ideal situation for a country where more films can be shot and I see Bobby Bedi on the stage, and I'm sure he'll share his experiences. Because given the size of the Hindi industry and the local regional film industry, there is no dearth of talent and there's no dearth of infrastructure or equipment in most parts of the country where you'll be able to. And I'm sure that in India, you'll find the infrastructure very good compared to other locations, and you'll be, able to do things at much lower costs and shoot films at much lower costs compared to, other countries. So given this situation, I would take this opportunity to invite all representatives of the media and entertainment industry to come to India and shoot films and other, visual media items as locations, and not only from the domestic industry, but also international. And with this in mind, my colleague Apurva and I, we had organized a small symposium in November in Mumbai with representatives of the state governments and the Indian film industry. And what we saw was that there was a lot of hunger in the states to attract and hunger and competition. Some states have come out with very liberal film promotion policies where they come out with incentives and other facilities to facilitate film production shoots. And we are seeing the visible results of that in some states where, shooting of films and television serials has gone up, and especially in the pandemic, and these have become new locations. So I'm sure the Information Broadcasting Secretary will tell you about their film facilitation cell and the the procedures that they want to ease for being able to shoot films in India. But to my knowledge, 14 states in the country have already come out with a film facilitation policy. That shows the priority and the importance that they give to the shooting of films. Some of the locations that I can just mention, this is just an, this is not an exhaustive list, but Coorg in Bangalore, near Bangalore, has become a very important shooting location. Khajuraho Temple Complex in Madhya Pradesh, the Bami Cave Temples in Karnataka. Kashmir Valley and Ooty and Ladakh are, of course, famous places. The Duraha Fort near Ludhiana, where the film Rang De Basanti was shot. Films like Ye Jawani Hai Diwani, Jab Tak Hai Jaan have shown, the trek and mountaineering experiences in India. And the Indian culture has been highlighted in Band Baza Bharat. And of course, there are these very, this lovely infrastructure form of the film cities at Mumbai, Bangalore, the film city in Hyderabad. And there are a host of other gorgeous destinations in India, which have intrigued both filmmakers and tourists in recent years. So with these words, I wish all success to this event at the Indian Expo. And I hope that we see more films being shot in India, not only films, but other visual media also. Thank you very much for this opportunity for me to share my thoughts with you.
I think now it's time to present the FICCI-EY report on media and entertainment industry. This calls for a photo opportunity for the unveiling of the report. If everybody could just hold it in their hands. I would now like to invite Mr. Jay Sampath, Head of Business Development and Market of EY India, to present the FICCI-EY report.
Good morning, everybody, and dignitaries on the dais. Thanks for joining in at the FICCI event. Basically, I'm going to present the highlights. I'm Jay Sampath from EY India, where I head markets and business development. And I'm going to present the 21st edition of the FICCI Frames report. Next slide. The whole theme of the report is tuning into consumer and how Indian M&E rebounds with a customer-centric approach. So as Jyoti said earlier, the industry this year has grown by around 16% to reach $21.5 billion after a degrowth of 24% in the year 2020. The M&E sector grew 16% in 2021, is just now 11% short of pre-pandemic 2019 levels. So that's a very positive sign. Next slide. This is a slide which compares the advertising growth to the GDP growth. So for the past 2 years, the GDP growth was exceeding the advertising growth. This year, for the first time after 2 years, the advertising growth is 25.4%, and the overall industry has grown at 16.4%. The industry grew at a lower level than advertising because events and films, because of the lockdown, they dented or reduced the growth. Next slide. This is a snapshot of the different 10 to 12 subsectors of the media and entertainment economy. As we see, the VFX grew the most at around 57%. In absolute terms, the digital media grew at around 68 billion rupees. The overall industry grew at around 16%, and TV and radio were the only one below 16%. The remaining, all the sectors grew above 16%. Next slide. One of the important and positive things to note is that deal value increased after almost 2 years to about 118 deals, and the value being around 672 billion rupees. About 86% of the deals were in the new media space, and there was one big deal where Zee was acquired by Sony. Next slide. So now we come to some of the main trends in the report. So if you read on the top, India is getting wired up, which will change the way we are entertained and informed. India now has about 795 million internet connections, out of which 25 million are wired broadband, and 771 are mobile broadband or the mobile connections. Next slide. So the whole wired broadband is leading to the increase in connected TVs, which is now around 10 million and expected to reach around 40 million. That will definitely change the way in which entertainment is consumed. The wired broadband, the mobile broadband connections are leading to, through around 500 million smartphones, have around 467 million online news and entertainment reach. And a lot of the time spent on the mobile broadband is on short video platforms like Instagram, Reels, YouTube Shorts, where the youngsters are spending a lot of time. Next. And even while the top of the pyramid is growing in terms of the OTT subscriptions and connected TVs, the free TV households are also have increased to around 43 million. So next slide. This is a very important slide. So if you see row number, the first row, we all the time talk about cord cutting being a global phenomenon. But in India, it is not such a big phenomenon as yet, because if you see in 2021, only 12 million subscribers out of the total 819 million have have cut the cord. If we see the free consumers also with per capita income increases, there are 215 million of them. And in the row 3, we have about 300 million people consuming content through the telco and the cable subscriptions. So the main theme in this point is customer segmentation and windowing will be a key for content companies, and they need to plan their strategy accordingly to suit the customer tastes. Next slide. This is the important thing which I think many of the panelists have talked about the great Indian content factory, and it is now gaining global audiences. India produced around 156,000 hours of television content last year, 2,500 hours of OTT content, and 2,000 hours of film content in spite of a lockdown year. And this is bound to grow, with the 2,500 hours of OTT expected to reach around 4,500 hours by 2026. Next slide. What's very important is that Indian content is now also gaining global accolades. And if we've got some of the statistics which says that 20% of Amazon Prime Indian Originals viewership comes from outside India. 11 of Netflix Indian Originals featured in the top 10 list of 10 or more countries. And Indian content on OTTs received more than 10 plus awards. And the list is only growing. So this is a very positive sign for the Indian OTT and content industry. And I think many people in the audience will take full advantage of that. Next slide. Next slide. I think many people in the audience here are from the animation and the VFX industry, and it's now Indian animation and VFX is now a back office of the world. It was the fastest growing sector this year at around 57% and is expected to grow to double to around 18,000 crores by 2024. Next slide. This is all due to the efforts. Next slide. This is all due to the efforts of the studios in India, which are numbered around 954, and 139 training universities, which produce around 185,000 hours of artists. And this is expected, the trained artists are expected to increase to around 1 million in the next 3 to 4 years. So that will be a tremendous boost for the content creating capability of India. Next slide. Of course, Mr. Madhavan talked about online gaming, and India is one of the biggest gaming markets globally, as well as fastest growing, which now India has around 90 million gamers, and it's growing rapidly. The graph on the right talks about esports, where we will have by 2022 1 million players and about 100 brands supporting them. And a large amount of the income for this industry is now still 70% coming from online fantasy gaming and the real money gaming. Next slide. So this slide highlights digital advertising moves to e-commerce platforms and shoppable content. If we see 69%, this year digital advertising increased by around 29%, and search and social, which is Facebook and Google, cornered around 69%. But Amazon and Flipkart, where people are shopping a lot and where people are therefore releasing a lot more of digital ads, became around 16%, or about 5,500 crores, which was a tremendous growth in that direction. Next slide. So summarizing, India is the times are bright. If you see the last two circles, there is expected to be a 13.1% CAGR, and the Indian industry is expected to reach around 31 billion by 2024. The times are bright. There is going to be around 1.4 billion Indian consumers, and there's going to be around 1 billion smartphones. And the opportunity is ripe for anybody from the audience or from the companies who want to take advantage of the same. So thank you. With that, I'd like to end my presentation. The report can be downloaded at ey.com/IN. And it will also be available with Samir, who will be able to share it on WhatsApp to anybody who wants it after the presentation. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you very much, Jay. Time for another significant launch of the EditorG. I would like to call upon Mr. Vikram Chandra, founder of EditorG, to speak a few words, and the Honorable Secretary, INB, to launch the EditorG Global.
Before I say anything about EditorG Global, could I request Mr. Purva Chandra, who's been one of the inspirations behind the entire concept of how do you take this and take it global? How do you get proper information to Indians all around the world, people of Indian origin and others around the world? So I just request you, sir, to launch it, and maybe we can play some of that. Yeah. Well, you can just say something. Yeah. There.
Thank you, Vikram. I'm very happy to launch the global edition of EditorG, which has been founded by Vikram Chandra, one of the most respected and trusted names in Indian journalism. Why it is important to have a global app like EditorG? It is very important because we want to tell the Indian perspective of news. And who better than Vikram Chandra to tell that perspective, to give that perspective, the Indian perspective. There are issues like COVID. The world says something about India. We have our own view of how we have dealt with COVID. The war with Ukraine or Russia, there is a world view and we have our own view. So these are important aspects on which we want to tell the world how we feel about the events in the world. And who better than Vikram Chandra to do that? We in the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, along with Ministry of External Affairs and the National Security Council, have decided that we will promote EditorG throughout the world and support this initiative, which will give the Indian perspective. And Vikram himself will be hosting a 1-hour chat show every week in his inimitable style, giving the Indian perspective. So over to you, Vikram.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for those very kind words. And yes, that weekly show, India, the India story is something which I think is important to get out there. I just wanted to talk to, a lot of people say you're launching global channels, you're launching it in the USA, you're launching it in Canada. What's the infrastructure? Are you investing $100 million? How many people are you going to have? Where will the bureaus come? And I just want to take off from what some of the speakers have said before. I think it's an interesting way of how you can use technology to do things in a dramatically different manner to the way they've just done before. Now, yes, in the traditional way of doing things, if you want to launch channels all around the world, yes, you've got to have massive infrastructure and you've got to spend a lot of money. But the core of EditorG, right from the time it began, was to essentially look at people and say, the way video news is being consumed right now, linear television news channels, that technology hasn't changed in 60 years. It's the same old format, right? Television news, 24-hour news is beaming into your house and you've got to watch it, right? And that's the way it is. But this is 2022. Why should you have to do things the way it was done a long time back? One of the reasons why we set up EditorG was to say, how do you use AI and platform theory to create news channels in a very different manner which are relevant for 2022? So what we do is, we know what the problems with linear television are. We know that a lot of people are also somewhat unhappy about the way television news channels actually function. And for the global Indian audience, if you're here in Dubai, if you're in the UAE, if you're in Canada, if you're in the US, and you're switching on an Indian 24-hour news channel, you'll sometimes find a lot of the time is being spent on heated discussions, to use a polite word, on matters that may not be directly relevant to you. I mean, what is happening inside the interiors or something? It's not stuff that is relevant to your lives. So how do you change that? The EditorG theory is something slightly different. People keep on telling us that today, in 2022, at a time when there's so much information, there's so many channels, there's so much digital video, we still don't feel informed. We're still not completely informed about what is happening around the world. So what do? We ourselves are creating 100 stories a day, 150 stories a day. We take in stories from partners and from others also. The EditorG engine, which is a human-machine hybrid algorithm, takes those stories and stitches them, creates them, stitches that together into a news channel, if you like. Open EditorG, you press the button, it'll start. Open your big screen app, it'll start. This technology is embedded in a multiple other areas, so you don't have to have EditorG, you do it. It's creating 24-hour channels, the equivalent of that. What you think is television news channel, it creates a television news channel on the fly for you. All you have to do is pick up your phone or get the app. And that is why we can now launch this in Canada, which will have some news in India, some news from Canada, some news international, some business, some lifestyle, some Indian food, some meditation, some everything. All of that can be put together into a channel. We're doing that in the USA already, starting today. We're doing that in Canada, starting today. Very keen to launch this in the UAE. That's another place where there are lots of people of Indian origin. We'll be launching this in the United Kingdom and then taking it forward. And then, of course, in addition, as Mr. Chandra was very kind enough to say, there will be some television type big shows also that we will be doing, which will also be circulated. But thank you all, and thank you so much, sir, for launching this.
Thank you so much. I'd now like to invite Bedi to say a few words on the confluence of culture.
Thank you, all of you in the audience, all of you on the dais. 5 minutes to say a couple of important things. Everyone has talked about shooting in India, shooting in the UAE, and there's a lot of effort being put behind that. And it's wonderful from the perspectives of business, of tourism, etc. And there's talk about India using India as a back office for a lot of the IT part and the production parts of entertainment. In the gaming, in the VFX, in the animation space. Neither of these are sufficient to create a cultural collaboration. And I think that the time has come now because the world has changed completely, to look upon slightly higher level of cultural collaboration between India and the rest of the world. And this case, I would say specifically the UAE or even the whole region of the GCC, which, in many ways I find is identical to India. In India, I can still see Bollywood, Telugu, Tamil as sort of almost separate silos. When I come here, I see all of this as one silo. And it's a very large representation. To that, if you add the native element, the Arabic and the other local population, etc., I look upon it as absolutely wonderful confluence of cultures. And I believe that creative collaboration, content collaboration between the two spaces is very important. And I think the times have changed enough for this to be the right time to engage in that. How do we engage in that, I think, is a subject of a more detailed discussion. But I can very clearly see it happening, and I think India should welcome creating content that is relevant here, and this region should look at creating content that is relevant here. It's relevant in India, it could be relevant in Pakistan, it could be relevant across the region, because culturally there is a huge connect. The second point I'm going to make today, apart from this, is that apart from this confluence of cultures, everyone has talked about the changing times. And we've talked about it in the context of generational change, as Madhavan said. We've talked about it in the context of COVID and what it has done. And I've been observing this. I mean, even in my personal life, my work didn't stop at all in the last 2.5 years. It possibly increased. We've managed to do 2 feature films and a show in 2 years. We've never done that in the past. My son, who's 34 or 35, started an OTT channel 3 years ago. 2 years of that were done on his phone. And it's already worth over $1 billion, a channel called MXPlayer. And it's all done on the phone. So, the world has changed. And we've got to adapt to it. And I'm going to express this in the words of a more literate person than me. Bob Dylan got the Nobel for Literature. And in his citation was a phrase or a section from one of his songs which said, "Oh, mothers and fathers throughout the land, don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. The old road is rapidly changing. So get off the new one if you can't lend a hand." But the times they are changing. I think all of us have to take that on board. Things have changed. They're not going to go back to where they were. So we better change. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bedi. I'd now like to request our Honorable Secretary, INB, Mr. Purvachandra, to come and say a few words and deliver the inaugural address.
Mr. Sanjay Sudhir, the Indian ambassador to UAE, all the dignitaries on the dais, and all those who have traveled with us from India for this media and entertainment fortnight. I would like to thank you all for coming to this Expo in Dubai and making this event a success and a true reflection of the vibrancy of the media and entertainment sector in India. I inaugurated the stall, the media entertainment, the stall here on Friday. And over the last 3 days, we have had several meetings with authorities in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and a lot of the people have spared time, even on holiday, to meet up with us, to interact with the Indian media houses which have come here. And I would like to thank all the authorities and the of Dubai and UAE who have welcomed us in such a big way. Today morning, when I visited the Dubai Tourism Association, they were saying that, and Ambassador Sanjay Sudhir also mentioned that 20 million visitors have come to the Dubai Expo. But in the morning, the tourism authorities, they were saying our target was 25 million and we are not happy, we have missed the target. I said there are still 10 days to go. Media and Entertainment Fortnight of India is just starting. Don't be surprised if you cross this 25 billion over the next 10 days. Because that is the kind of hold which media and entertainment has on the Indian psyche. It is the sector which is the most loved at sector in India, not only in India, and that is the sector which has given the face of Indians throughout the world. The IT sector has Johnny come lately, it has come only 20 years back, but it is media and entertainment which has given the visibility to India. Then again, they were saying that Dubai is now the fourth largest city attracting tourists in the world. But their aim is over the next 5 years or 10 years is to overtake Paris and London and become the largest city. So there again, my suggestion was attract more films here, more films being shot here. And I'm sure Indians will swamp Dubai because that is what happened in Switzerland, that is what happened in Spain, and wherever Indian films are shot, Indians follow. So we already consider Dubai like the fifth metro of India and Emirates as the national airline of India. So the exchanges between us are only going to strengthen. We have a large contingent with us covering the entire gamut of the media and entertainment sector of India, from broadcasting to animation and gaming, to movies, to event management and media education. The entire gamut is here, and they have had fruitful meetings over the last 3 days, despite being holidays, and they will be here, and I'm sure that a lot of collaborations will happen over the next fortnight. In fact, 2 of the films have already been launched, and more are in the offing in the next 10 days. RRR, which was launched on Friday, one of the largest productions of India. I mean, they were saying that they have spent almost 70-80 million US dollars and marketing it as an international film. Then yesterday, Viral Sebi, where the actors are from UAE. That was launched here, that had the world premiere here. And Madhavan is here, he will be also, now he is shifted here, and his film is coming out on 1st of July. But Mr. Madhavan, one thing I have to tell you, you were saying that you are now interested in making content only for your son. We are also there. We are into the last 2 decades of our lives. Do make content for us also. So don't forget us. The world has changed definitely in the last 2 years. And that is reflected in the OTT, the arrival of OTT in India. And the E&Y report, which was shown here, that was showing that so many people in India now have mobile connections, digital mobile connections. And in India, the data is very cheap, which is again one thing which I was surprised here in UAE. The data is extremely costly. While in India, almost everybody has access to free data, and everybody is watching media and entertainment content on their TV or on the mobile. And that has led to profusion of the content being created, not only in Hindi or their own language, but into various languages, dubbing. Now, Mr. Madhavan himself was saying that his film, each shot he is shooting in 3 different languages, in English, Hindi, and Tamil, so that that feel of their language comes in. So the demand for content is huge. And again, in the E&Y report, as was shown, that the content on Amazon, I mean, whatever Indian content goes, now 20% of it is watched abroad. So that is giving the visibility to media and entertainment content throughout the world. What was seen earlier only in the specific state in which the language, the content was created, now it is being seen across the world. And I must admit that even I am seeing South Indian content for the first time, which I missed for the first 5 decades of my life. So the world has indeed changed. It has changed for the better, and change is always for the better. So, and that is a good thing. And it has opened a lot of opportunities for everyone. Not only the big media houses, but the smaller media houses, now they can get visibility, not only in their country, in their state, but across the world. There are smaller movies, like for example, Viral Sebi, which held the world premiere yesterday. I'm sure they will not have a theatrical release in Delhi, but now it can be seen easily because they will be there on an OTT platform, and people like me can watch it. So that is the kind of change which has happened. Between us and UAE, there is a lot of scope for collaboration. Day before we were there in Abu Dhabi, the Abu Dhabi Movie Corporation, they informed us about the kind of incentives which they are offering. They are huge incentives, and there is a lot of scope for collaboration. In terms of co-productions, we have shared our co-production treaty with Abu Dhabi, and once we get it signed, I'm sure that a lot of media houses would like to collaborate with Abu Dhabi so that they can do some part production or post-production there and get those incentives. In fact, they have kept the set of Tigers in Dahe, which was shot there, still alive, even after 5 years of it being shot. And today morning, I had a meeting with the MD who is here of the Dubai Studio City, Media City, Production City. And the kind of facilities, again, which they are offering, there are a lot of Indian production houses are availing of their facilities. I'm sure that the smaller houses would also come over and avail of their facilities. In fact, we invited the Abu Dhabi Film Corporation to set up an office in India so that more and more of Indian media houses can avail of their facilities. Because we have the stories, as was said by Mr. Madhavan, Jyoti and others, we have the stories which we can tell the world, and the world is interested in listening to our stories. Our culture runs 5,000 years old. As Arvind Singh, Secretary Tourism, was mentioning, that we have a lot of locations, a lot of places where our stories can be told. But now what is required is that our production values, they reach the level of the West, the best in the West, and with that we can collaborate with the UAE so that our production values, what we don't have in India, we can utilize the facilities here. The government of India has recently approved the Champion Sector scheme for Indian filmic content, where the incentives have been approved for co-production and for those shooting in India. As was mentioned by Secretary Tourism, there are so many locations, so many things which India offers. And now with this incentive policy, and NFDC being the single nodal point for film facilitation and providing these incentives, and these coupled with the state incentives can go a long way in attracting investment in content in India. We have the resources, we have the stories, we have the skilled manpower, and we have people like you who are willing to invest in the media and entertainment sector in India. And I'm sure that this sector will lead the way in the Indian growth story. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'd now like to invite Mr. Vikram Sahai, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Information Broadcasting, for the concluding remarks.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. And I think first of all, I must thank FICCI. I mean, it's the type of fabulous work which FICCI has done, and they have been doing the last 6 months. But it's for the last 4 days actually I viewed it, and I think the experience which I had of the pains and the determination and the enthusiasm with which they have worked for all these months, it is absolutely incredible. And it's not only me, I think all the delegates who have come here, they have been taken very good care. The way they have been able to prepare sessions, manage sessions, and even at 10 p.m. in the night, they are trying to work out
who's coming, who would be moderating, who would be speaking. I think it's very, very incredible. And I'm reminded of my own days in FICCI long time back when I was there. And it's always a pleasure to interact with all the officials here and back in Delhi. So kudos to the entire team of FICCI. It's a privilege to be in the midst of such great personalities, people who have put their blood and toiled for the last several decades, Jyoti ji, Ashish Kulkarni ji, and the doyens of whom we only heard of, we never met them, we never talked to them. मेहता साहब, आपकी मूवी हम लोगों ने बहुत देखा है और now 3 years back, sir, I had watched Masoom probably for the 10th time, and it still brought a few tears in my eyes. And that is the power of the movie which you have made, sir. Thank you so much for having been such a big doyen of the Indian film industry and such a great filmmaker, Deepa ji, and of course, Mr. Madhavan, a great person and a great actor. So now, with courtesy OTT, courtesy technology, I can watch my favorite movies of Masoom and Mirch Masala and Maya Mem Saab and Three Idiots whenever, always I can watch. That's the power. But for me, the most important takeaway from these 3 days, has been the learning of the sector. We are otherwise so bogged down in our files and other things that we really don't try to get time to understand the sector as well as we should be doing, and also to take out time to meet the stakeholders, because I can tell you these 4 days, 2 days I traveled from the hotel with Mr. Kishore of Zynga, and in those 30 minutes today and the other day, my learning of the entire gaming sector improved so much. I thought I had known nothing before that. Now, this is the big advantage which I could gain of meeting you informally over the last 3 days. Today morning, for instance, we met Mr. Majid, who's the managing director of Dubai Media City, and his insight and understanding and his vision of how infrastructure should be built is exceptional, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You really impressed us. The other important aspect is, and what takeaway we take is that, as it's already mentioned, we are a country of great storytellers. Mr. Madhavan gave us a story of the local train, and we could actually, while he was speaking, we could visualize the local train of Bombay. It's crowded, and how somebody's getting down and getting up. So this story needs to be told across the world. I think what the collaboration which we had with Mr. Vikram Chandra, I think we had been talking about it for the last few months, that how to tell the Indian story, the Indian part of the story. I think this is one important step in that direction. And there would be ever other such collaborations, because it's not, why should government tell its own story? Let the people of the country tell the story about what's happening in the country, what the achievements and what the government is doing. And it comes from a person, as the Secretary mentioned, Mr. Vikram Chandra, it adds value and credibility to what he says. So thank you so much, all of you. And while we are going back to Delhi tomorrow, but any of you who are coming to Delhi anytime, please step in to our offices, and we in the ministry under the able leadership of our Secretary, we would be giving as much support as possible, whatever best we can do. And even if you're not able to come over, now it's a virtual world, so we can always get in touch with each other virtually, and we are there to give as support, whatever is required, which the industry wants from the government, from our ministry. We are there with you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, and we would like to say a special thank you to Mr. Arvind Singh for being with us virtually throughout the session. We have an interesting day packed with a lot of sessions, panel discussions, so please stay along and have a look at the schedules which are available with us. We'd also like to thank the presence of Mr. Sanjay Sudhir, the Ambassador, to grace us, Mr. Purva Chandra. Thank you so much. Dr. Gunvina Chadda, the Pavilion Director, is also present amongst us, if you'd like to give a vote of thank you.
Just to say a very, very big thank you to our secretary, our ambassador, everyone on the dais, and all our special guests here and the participants. For us, it's a great honor to have each one of you here with us today at the India Pavilion. And we look forward to more interesting discussions with you all. And I would like to say, please do not go, because without any more delay or change of time, we have the very next session now. So stay with us for another interesting session, a fireside chat. Mr. Vikram Chandra in conversation with Mr. Shekhar Kapoor now. And thank you, a big, big thank you to each one of you. Thank you very much.